Hello, my name is Kensylburns, and tonight I'd like to speak with you on who or what is the cause of the decline in the attendance in the American Christian Church. I would propose it is the body of Christ as a whole that is at fault when we look at the causes of the decline in attendance in the American churches. Many people in America have become consumeristic in their views of the Christian church, shopping churches like they shop the mall. But where did this view of the church begin, and can it be changed? It began with the church appealing to the consumer in all of us, giving the churchgoer the entertainment they desired to get them in the pews, thus increasing their numbers. According to Tom Schultz of HolySoup.com, the objective of the consumer is to receive, and most churches have designed their main product, the worship service, as a spectator event. Mr. Schultz goes on to compare how one can relate the church to the mall through competition, accounting, and transaction phases of a business. First, competition with one another, claiming that they are better than one another, accounting of the number of people in the pews at every service in the way that a business measures their success by their bottom line. And then, of course, then you have the transaction. Merchants push to get you in the door, make the sale, close the deal. It is obvious that he doesn't understand fully the benefit of many of the actions within the walk of the believer. But if one is truly honest, they can see how many times we get lost in the functioning of the service to where it would look like to someone that the hard sale or pushing the well-scripted hour to keep the churchgoer's attention and not taking up much of their busy time instead of a lifestyle. He calls it the consumption model of Christianity. Which brings me to my second point of why attendance is falling in the American Christian church. Schedule conflicts. The American Christian's life has become too hectic, too chaotic, full of work, school, children's activities, sports activities. The doors to the American church just aren't available when the people really need them. Tom Rainer, in his article, 7 Key Reasons Your Church Attendance May Be Declining, written for Lifeway.com, explains that one of the most neglected areas of church life is the emphasis on groups. By that he explains groups of all kinds. Home groups, small groups, Sunday school classes, life groups, any groups, are the key to assimilation and commitment. The importance of groups must begin with the pastor and all key leaders in the church. Mr. Rainer also specifies that when we need to expect more of our members. If we are expecting too little of our members, then that is exactly what we get. Also, Mr. Rainer points out in another article the number one reason for the decline in church attendance and 5 ways to address it, written for thechristianpost.com, that it really isn't an attendance issue. It's a frequency issue. Most don't notice that many churchgoers are not leaving the church. They just aren't attending as frequently. For example, someone who attended 4 times a month, but is only attending 3 times a month, isn't associated with leaving the church, but brings down the overall attendance in numbers. If that person continually attends for only 3 Sundays a month instead of 4, then overall the drop is 12%. And that goes on the attendance for that year for that person. If you have 200 attending all the time, and that number drops to 175 for 1 Sunday a month, then your attendance records will show that you had a 12% decline in attendance for that year. It could be skewed as a bad thing. The headlines could read, Christians lose 12% attendance in a year. Another very important point to look at to explain why Christian churches are falling in attendance, according to Mr. Rainer, is that many Americans don't see it as beneficial to their citizenship as they once did. It was necessary for political, business, and social reasons to attend church regularly. But now the culture in America has changed, and what he sees as cultural Christians don't deem it necessary to further their objectives. So society and culture are a prevalent reason for fall in attendance. What is more concerning, more Christians and more Americans are claiming no religious preference as never before. Ed Stetzer, in his article, More Americans Claim No Religious Preference, written at factsandtrends.net, says a record 21% of Americans claim no religious preference, a number that has grown steadily from 8% in 1990 with no evidence of slowing down. Mr. Stetzer believes that perhaps these numbers show a shift in the Americans' view of religion, and that perhaps it has become more personal and private, which he deems to be a very dangerous path. He also concedes that the harvest seems willing to listen, but the laborers don't seem willing to talk. What I find really interesting about Mr. Stetzer's article is that research is showing that while 4 in 10 Americans report to attend a worship service once a month, that's 40%, 57 report to praying every day, and 75 once a week. This would indeed back up Mr. Stetzer's opinion that the fields are ripe for the harvest, but the laborers are few. So what does this really say about the attendance in the American church today? According to Mr. Stetzer, many Americans are claiming no religious preference, but seem willing to listen if the laborers are willing to talk. Reasons attendance may be declining in the American church is that there isn't enough expectation on the members to warrant the greater commitment. Groups of all kinds, whether it's small home-based Bible study, the Sunday school class, or life groups, are the key to assimilation into the body of Christ, thus building attendance in our church. This isn't really an attendance issue, but a frequency issue, with churchgoers attending less frequently, and finally, churches have become spectator events. In all these key issues, the decline of attendance in the American church, the body as a whole has a part to play. The who, the what of the decline in the American Christian church today is the they. Ministry, pastors, members in the body of Christ, we all, have responsibilities to the decline in the attendance in the American Christian church. When one looks at the causes of decline, there's no one single event nor one person to blame. It's more of an awakening to the solution that we must embrace according to the research.